Hello, my name is Isaac and welcome back to the channel, and let's talk about some stories. And today we're going to be talking about My Hero Academia 369. Spoilers, and I gotta tell you guys, it's gonna be some peak shonen action in this chapter, because I'm telling you, I could just smell all the fragrances and the spices and the salsa. Salsa's not spicy, but y'all catch my drift. It's gonna be fuego. Quick recap of chapter 368. Deku arrives and claps all for one. End of summary. Wow. Chapter of the title, Extended Life. The chapter begins off with a little flashback, but this time it's all for one who's having the flashback. As we all know, a flashback in shonen manga often means a power-up or someone's about to die. This fight is far from over, so I would not be surprised if we see overall clap back, not in this chapter, but maybe in the following couple. As I was saying, All For One has a flashback of you guys subscribing to the channel. Oh wait, go ahead. All right, let's go. All For One has a flashback of himself choking out the second user like a... And he has this inner monologue where he explains the second user's quirk on how it worked back then. Turns out the second user was only able to make small objects go by fast, and we see All For One stop a bullet, grab it, crush it. We're not really sure who's shooting the bullet because it's coming from behind All For One, so it can't be the second user because the second user is in front of All For One and in his hand. The second user's face is also bleeding, so this is probably the fight that gave him the scar. I don't think that's where he dies, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he got his scar from. All For One reminisces to himself that the second user had a quirk that was nothing but a hindrance and that he was nothing but an insect to him. So why is Deku able to clap me so hard? Not only is he being pushed around by Deku, he can actually see the vestiges of the second user and of his little brother Yoichi. I'm pretty sure that this confirms that in chapter 368, when Nana Shimura locks eyes with little Tenko, that was the actual vestige seeing Tomura. Now, is it only All For One who can see this? Is it only Shigaraki that can see this? Or can everyone see this? We're not totally sure about this. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like an All For One, one for all exclusive type of vibe, because they do have like a Wi-Fi, Bluetooth type of connection going on. This is never really explained. And you know what? I'm fine with them not totally explaining it and just leaving a little bit of mystery in the air, you know? You know what I'm saying? It got hot. First and foremost, the quirk is not called transmission. The quirk is called gear shift. I don't know why they called it transmission in the last chapter. That might have been the skill of gear shift, you know, kind of like prominence burn of the Hellfire quirk, but the quirk is called gear shift. While All For One is rethinking his life, us, the audience, get a little tidbit on how gear shift works.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Since the predecessors have passed on the quirk to Deku, the quirk is now able to control each and every cell on a molecular level. You have each cell moving incredibly faster, and then on top of that, you add the one for all quirk, and boom, you get Deku just blitzing All For One. The combination of these two quirks has the power to distort the foundation of the world, and I quote this directly from the spoiler. Now, with that being said, Deku comes in and hits All For One with a quintuple Detroit smash, and on top of that, the smashes are stacked up on one upon each other, implying that all 5 Detroit smashes happen in the blink of an eye. Yo, our boy is giving some serious work to All For One. Now, the chapter goes on with our boy Deku flying around the arena like a bullet, but All For One, not being a chump, realizes that those 5 Detroit smashes were not as powerful as the last attack, meaning that he had no stocks of Fajin left. With that information in hand, he decides to intercept Deku with his next attack. But our boy Wonder just keeps serving us at that good, you know what I'm saying? He sees the blow coming in thanks to his danger sense, uses smoke screen to blind Shigaraki, jumps into the air using float, and then bam, uses Black Whip, pulls All For One into the air. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. Seeing Deku using all of his quirks in tandem together. And I've got to say, guys, it is schmexy. as he's preparing his next smash attack, we see him use the ability of Fa Jin. Now y'all must be saying, Isaac, you just said that he was out of Fa Jin. He was stockless. Turns out those 5 Detroit Smash in the past were used to accumulate more Fa Jin so that he could release it on this impact. As DEKU was preparing his smash, the second user pops up and is like, Tomura all for one, you shouldn't be afraid of the quirk. You should be afraid of the will of the people who passed on these quirks. Simultaneously, DEKU remembers the words of Banjo, saying that he would be the one to complete all for one. And he yells at the top of his lungs that he is gonna stop this and it's gonna end once and for all. All for one will no longer hurt nobody. Nobody wanna see us together, nothing else. That punch was so strong that it left a hole in Tomura's chest. I'm not joking, it left an actual hole in his chest. Then the first user pops up, Yorichi, saying that I can still see my brother in that chest. Not only that, but the boy with the brown eyes, our boy Mirio, was right. The longer this fight goes on, the more the fusion becomes unstable. Right after that, the second user pops up and says, y'all gotta remember Shimura's words, this needs to end now, you cannot pass out. Again, this alluding to the 5-minute time limit that the second user was talking about in the last chapter, saying that he had 5 minutes to end this or the world was gonna end. This is probably something very similar to Luffy's Gear 4, when he can only use it for 10 minutes, after that he can no longer use any haki. As unpleasant as a thought that this may be, I am pretty sure that Deku's gonna hit that 5-minute time limit and is gonna pass out. And in that moment, that's where we're gonna have Bakugo show up once again, fighting all for one, probably this time at full strength with all of his quirks. Why with all of his quirks? We're gonna get into that right now. As this is happening, we get a sneak peek of what's going inside of All For One's head. All For One thinks to himself that it's not fair. Yue is flying. Erasure is stopping him from using any of his quirks. He has not been able to use any of his abilities. Although he has a body that's like a quirk in itself, he hasn't actually been able to use any of his abilities so far. All For One saying this towards the end of the chapter can only mean that at some point we're going to see All For One fighting against Deku and probably Bakugo unimpeded by the Erasure quirk, using all of his abilities, everything at his possible disposal. It's at this point that All For One starts yelling and we see 9 beams of light appear around him, similar to One For All. What could be these 9 beams of light? I think that it might be the vestiges of the past users of the quirks that All For One has stolen. Now, will they be his ally? I don't think so, but they might be forced to help him in some kind of capacity. Now, obviously seeing this, Deku is real confused, and Aizawa just like, does he still have some tricks up his sleeve? I hope not. After throwing his temper tantrum, Tomura All For One agrees with Yoichi, saying that if this is a battle of accumulated efforts over the years, there's still a chance that I could win. And then we cut to Spinner, who's like in giant form and drooling. I don't know why you're doing this now. We should have done it before, because we understand there's a lot of battles that are still ongoing, but you should have done this before. You should not have done it now. But you know what? I am not the writer. I am just some guy on the internet. That's where the chapter ends. There will be a break next week, unfortunately, but we do have other manga to break down and review together. You guys let me know what you think is going to happen in the next chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like if you like the video, dislike the video if you didn't like it. Any feedback is good feedback, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.